Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all here in this session at TNV Academy. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today's webinar, Mr. Ajay Vajpayee. In this webinar today, Mr. Ajay Vajpayee will discuss inspection of incoming or received products and services from outsourced partners per ISO 9001 standard. Our distinguished speaker, Mr. Ajay Vajpayee, has done his bachelor's in engineering in metallurgy stream. He is also a lead auditor in ISO 9001, 14001, 45001, 37001, 22000, 27001, 13485, 22301, and 50001 standards. He has an industrial experience of around 38 plus years in field of manufacturing, quality control, quality assurance, design services, and technical testing. He has been imparting training to a number of organizations, entrepreneurs, and individuals on various topics related to ISO terminologies and their certification and implementation. It was just a brief introduction of our guest speaker today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Ajay Vajpayee. I may request Mr. Ajay Vajpayee now to please take over and start the webinar.
Thank you, Apur. Thank you for the good introduction. I'm also the vice chairman of TNV group of companies, where we are into accredited training courses and accredited certification. We are having global operations, and we have got global associates and auditors available at all over the place. You name in the globe, we will have our auditors, we will have trainers. So we conduct these accredited courses, which are internal auditor training courses, lead auditor training courses, and certifications to various standards under the accreditation of IAS and UAF. So today I am going to touch upon the very important subject, which is incoming and receiving inspection of material, products, components, and services. Today I will cover only the quality control aspects and quality related activities for ISO 9001 2015 standards. In coming days, we will have opportunity to address the similar inspection activity for other standards, because every standard has got its own slightly different requirement in case of incoming and receiving inspection. As you can see, where is the applicability of this a very important activity, and what are the linkages? So I have given few of the linkages which are ISO 9001 related clauses: 7.1.5, 8.1, 8.2.1, 8.2.3, 8.4, 8.5, 8.6, 8.7, and 9.1. So basic linkages, as you can see, will start from the processing activity. Wherever the production starts, wherever the stores activity comes, wherever the production assembly starts, whenever the dispatch is going to be done, wherever we have got other kind of processes which will directly deal with products and processes, these clauses will fall under the purview of incoming and receiving inspection. So first point we can look at what is the applicability is raw material. When we are into a manufacturing system, assembly system, whatever raw material we are purchasing and this is being supplied to our company, that becomes input for our further processing, for our manufacturing process, for our assembly process. These raw materials are the inputs. So this is where the quality of the raw material needs to be checked by utilizing the incoming and receiving inspection methods, techniques, and technology. Next, applicability of this comes to services. As a manufacturer or as an assembly unit, we are utilizing services of many supporting organizations. It can be QA/QC labs. Like in India, we have got NABL lab. Overseas, we have got BS approved lab. or API approved lab, or other kind of associated laboratories are there. For 13485, we have got government and regulatory bodies and regulatory board approved labs. We have got auditors who are hired by the organization, and they conduct sometimes the second party audit or other kind of audits, whatever we have the terms of contract with them. Also, we have got the consultants. In a situation of a manufacturing organization, either we can develop systems ourselves, we can document all our systems, our processes, and then we can prepare ourselves by further conducting internal audit and management review, and then go for third party certification. Or we can hire the services of a consultants who will guide the organization to document our manual procedure, work instruction, checklist, and then also we support the organization when we are going for implementation. So these consultancy services are also something which are falling under the purview of incoming inspection, because whenever we have to appoint our service organization also, we need to check their quality. We need to make the assessment of their competency. We need to see their experience. So they also fall under the category of this, and they also need to go through our incoming inspection. Many organizations sometimes do mistakes and they take it separately, and they just by feelings or by one or two quotations appoint a consultant who ultimately will not be able to deliver the services which are really required by the organization. Next level comes in the suppliers and vendors who are making a very critical part into our uh, quality of the products and services when we are going for assembly and the production activities, and they become further critical when we are going for outsourcing of the processes. As a manufacturer, for example, we are manufacturing motorcycles, so silencer manufacturing we outsource, or welding of some of the critical parts which we are not capable, maybe we outsource those processes. So in that cases, what kind of supplier vendor we select, what order we give him, and what are the terms and conditions of this order. This is very different and very typical in case of a outsourced process. Depending upon the capability of our supplier or vendor or the manufacturer whom we have outsourced the process, we set up the inspection condition. In some cases, initially, what may happen, we may do 100% inspection by making visit to his workshop, and we verify all the parameters as per the inspection plan or quality plan. But later on, depending upon our confidence level, those conditions may be relaxed. Or if he is already supplying some other materials to us or to some department or other manufacturer like us, material, we may set up the inspection conditions. We may allow him to only give uh, material test certificate with the product, and we accept it. So it depends upon what is the service, what is the material, what is the product, what is the activity which a vendor or supplier is conducting for us. Similar case, we look at the special processes. 8.1.f, if you look at the ISO clause, these are something where the quality of the product and process cannot be immediately verified. For example, we have got a process of painting. We are doing painting on a sheet metal product, or we are having doing a painting in our office situations. The walls are being painted. We may check the color, the gloss, we may check the painting thickness also, but the actual life of the painting comes out by the passage of weeks and months and years. Similar case of special process is also the welding. Welding process is also such that the life of weld, strength of weld can only be seen after passage of time when the machine, a product or component which is welded is really coming into the actual operations. So for such processes, the incoming inspection activity becomes very typical and critical, because into a special process, what is normally done, we are qualifying the raw material, we are qualifying the operators, we are qualifying the kind of material composition of the metal part which are being welded or which are being soldered in case of software applications or UPS inverter, laptop components and parts assembly. So this process is very important, because whenever the quality of raw material or qualification of welder or type of welding changes, we again have to re-qualify the process. So whenever we have got a special process, the role of incoming inspections becomes very critical, because the raw material changes, so the raw material plan, inspection method, everything change, which we will discuss in the next slide. We are also having a situation of customer supplied items. In many situations, the customer will supply some parts to the manufacturer and he will say that you use this part into the assembly of the machine or component. For example, there is a piston manufacturing being done by Sriram Piston and Rings Limited. So the escorts or the Maruti will tell them that this is the rubber component which you need to fit into this piston, or this is the washer I am supplying which you have to fit into this filter which you are going to supply to us. So these customer supplied items are again going through incoming inspection process. In bigger setups, the organizations will have special areas allocated for customer supplied items, and customer supplied items are handled in a different way, because the moment there is a issue, there is a problem in the customer supplied item, the customer needs to be informed immediately and its part to be identified separately in an area or by putting a tag or by label, and the customer will then replace the item. There can be a meeting of the both the parties along with the incoming inspection report, that this is what is the incoming inspection report, so further action needs to be taken. So for a situation of customer supplied items, incoming inspections becomes more critical. Now we look at the assembly oriented units, which are mainly falling into, for example, automotive manufacturers like Maruti, like Ford, like General Motor, like Chrysler, or railways or airlines. Because these units, these manufacturers are not manufacturing many parts themselves. They are very heavily dependent upon their suppliers or vendors. For example, Maruti does not manufacture anything on their own. They get almost everything supplied by the vendors and suppliers. So in this case, the incoming inspection activity becomes very critical. Railways, the bogies manufacturer, the engine manufacturers, they hardly manufacture anything within their workshop. They only do assembly, painting, testing, and dispatches to their customers. So for them, incoming inspection becomes very important, which is again linked to the supplier and vendor order conditions. What will be the incoming inspection conditions? How much inspection will be done? All that is very critical in case of these kind of assembly oriented units, because their life depends upon their suppliers quality. Many of them also again emphasis, for example, the automotive standard, which is TS 16949, they will stress their suppliers to go for a situation that they themselves should be first tier supplier to have automotive standard, or at least ISO 9000 standard, so that their incoming standard and their supply of incoming test certificate becomes very strong, and they have confidence that whatever raw materials components are being supplied, that is coming to a effective incoming inspection control at their manufacturing end also. So now we go to the next slide. We have understood that yes, receiving inspection needs to be done, but how it will be done, how the planning of inspection will be done. So most of the organization, even before the starting of ISO 9000 and IATF standards, they used to have quality plans. In that quality plan, we are today focusing at incoming inspection quality plan. Companies will have process control plan, final inspection plan also. So this incoming quality plan, it is developed by the organization themselves when they are going to implement the system. They go for ISO certifications or not, that's a different thing. But as an organization, to build a strong system, they need to have a quality plan. So quality plan will define who will check, how it will be checked, what will be the frequency, how the recording will be done, what will be the instrument for checking. So all these parameters are defined into the quality plan. Similar way, we have sampling plan. When we are into a receiving inspection situation, for example, 1,000 pieces of rubber gaskets are supplied. So in receiving inspections, how many will be checked? It is not possible in most of the cases to check 100%. It may be in some cases, but most of the incoming inspection situations will have a sampling plan. So sometimes the sampling plan is given by the customer. Maruti will tell a filter manufacturer that when you are manufacturing the filters, and when you are following the incoming inspection plan, this is the sampling plan which you should follow. Or you are a piston manufacturer supplying to the Ford will tell that this is the sampling plan when you are purchasing the raw materials and components from your suppliers. In other cases, a company, a manufacturer can develop his own self sampling plan by virtue of his experience, by virtue of his team's experience, by virtue of their competency of the team. They develop a self inspection plan, which may have come taken a reference from customers or from the other standards which are available, like IS standard. uh, ISI has been making lot of inspection plan. Now they are called Bureau of Indian Standard, BIS, but standards are still called the IS. So IS 2500 is there, which guides the sampling. That if you are getting 2,000 pieces of rubber components or 10,000 pieces of plastic components, how many pieces you will check? 5, 10, 20, that depends upon the sampling frequency as guided by the standard. Same way the BS specifications is there, British standards. Same way the API, American Petroleum Institute's sampling plans are there. So they are at times guided by the customers. They are at times given the reference by the customers, or sometimes the customer will say that take the reference of these standards and develop a sampling plan, get it approved by us, and then start implementing. So these kind of methods are there to have sampling plan developed. Once we have sample plan with us, then we need to go for the availability of the inspection instruments, machines. How we will check the materials and components when they are received into the storage, when they are coming into the stores, how we will check it? So we need inspection instruments. For example, vernier calipers, micrometers, hardness testers. These are various instruments which are used to check the length, width, thickness, hole size or the hardness of rubber before they are accepted as per the sample plan. Also, we need the machines to check. Many materials and components are checked by various machines. For example, tensile testing machine, drop weight tear testing machine, scanning machine, radiography machine, ultrasonic testing machines. So various types of parts, and the similar situation can be like many of the persons think ultrasonic testing and radiography are only the medical usage. It is also used in material testing and component testing. So when we are certifying a hospital, that time the radiography will be different. When we are certifying into a materials, radiography is of materials. So these machines should be available with the inspection department, the incoming inspection department, so that they can utilize these machines to check the quality of the materials and components, and then they take a decision whether to accept or not accept it depending upon the sample plan, quality plan and acceptance criteria. Also, these instruments and machines needs to have accuracy, and they may need calibration. Okay, accuracy and calibration is again a big chapter and a big challenge. When we are talking in some other webinar on calibration, we will discuss in details. But for a limited discussions, when we are into a raw material inspection, whatever instruments or machine we are using, that should be accurate. It should be giving correct results. So accuracy needs to be ensured, and if further required, it should be calibrated. Calibration is one of the requirement, but most important is the accuracy of the results. Calibration is a requirement or not, we will discuss in the chapter of calibration. Depending upon the situation, depending upon the stage, the calibration may be required or may not be required. Now we have the sampling plan available, quality plan available, inspection instruments are there, but who will utilize all them? So there is a team of inspection, there is a QA QC department, the inspectors are there, QC engineers are there, QC managers are there, but they all should be trained. Anybody and everybody cannot do the inspection for the sake of conducting the inspection, because every material, every component has got a special quality plan, sample plan and acceptance criteria. So this inspector, this QC engineer should be trained. Number one, for the what is the type of material he is going to check. Is he qualified for that? A mechanical engineer may not be suitable for checking the incoming software which is supplied by a supplier, or a rubber expert may not be suitable for checking the electrical item. So this is what is important. When we are going to select and train the team of inspection, we need to consider all these criteria. What is his qualification? Then he should be trained on the usage of inspection instrument, usage of machines, usage of accuracy and calibration concept. If machine instrument is not accurate, should he still go on checking? So all this is very important, that the inspectors, the QC engineers, the team is trained that this is the quality plan, this is the inspection plan. These many samples he has to check. In some cases, we have seen that inspection reports are filled, and the sample plan says you have to check 5 pieces of rubber component for the hardness and for permeability and for the diameter and for the thickness. But sometimes this inspector, what he will do, he will take two readings and he will write the range. 3 mm to 4 mm he will write. But then the purpose is defeated. because the sample plan says you have to check 5 pieces. Means we as an auditor, when we go for third party auditing, we will specifically see if he has recorded 5 readings or not. 3 mm to 4 mm, the range should have 3.1, 3.2, 3.1, 3.2, 3.15. That means we need to see the 5 readings written into the report. This is where the training is important. He should not write the range, but he should write the exact 5 readings there, so that when the analysis is done, which we will see soon, that can be done correctly. Once we are using the trained team, then we need to do performance evaluation of the team, so that the team remains competent for all the time to come, because the quality plans keeps on changing, sampling plan keeps on changing. With the technological changes coming, the inspection instruments are changes, the machines are changing, their accuracies and calibrations are becoming tighter and tighter and tighter. So, if this team of engineers and quality control inspectors, if their performance is not evaluated with a certain frequency, that depends upon organization to organization, and depending upon what are the kind of design changes or material changes or inspection instruments are changing, they need to do a performance evaluation, maybe weekly, monthly, or 6 monthly, whatever they decide depending upon their experience and based upon the customer and self and standards requirement. They need to do the performance evaluation, so that they can do the incoming inspection effectively as per the requirement of the organization and as per the requirement of the customers, and with the ultimate aim to see that yes, defect prevention is under control. So this was the planning of the inspection. Now we go to the next chapter, implementation. Now we have the requirement, we have understood the linkages, we have understood the requirement of the inspector. Now we have the instruments available. So now the inspection of raw material is done. Raw materials and component inspection is done. So now what to do? We need to have an inspection report format where the QC engineer or QC technologist, whatever name we call it, different companies have different names. So we need now to fill this information into a inspection report. If we have to take 2 samples, then 2 diameters needs to be recorded, 2 length has to be recorded, 2 width has to be recorded, 5 mm, 5.1 mm, 4.2 inches, 4.3 inches. So this report will be filled with this information. When this information is filled, this becomes a inspection report. This inspection report filling is again need a training, as we have discussed in the last slide. Training is very important to fill the inspection report correctly, so that the desired results are available to us and we can find the good output from the inspection report. Then comes the situation of initial approval. Sometimes when the raw materials and components are coming into the organization, they reach the stores. Initial approval normally called that yes, you see the material test certificate, you see the physical appearance, you see yes the quantities are okay. So initially you say that yes, the material supplied by ABC manufacturer as a rubber component, 10,000 pieces of O-rings are initially okay. So you just take them into the stores, and then comes the exercise when the acceptance situation starts. So sometimes it is the incoming inspection team, inspection engineers only will check the raw materials and components. Sometimes it depends upon the user department. Some items might have been ordered by the maintenance department. So they also comes into the picture. Sometimes stores has also got some capabilities, specialized capacities for those kind of components and materials checking. So they become a team and they do the initial approval and acceptance of the item. And they are depending upon the organization's method of checking or storing, they keep into different places which are earmarked with the colors or codes or by racks or by tags. In small companies, they use different kind of tags. Yellow color means under inspection, green color means okay, red color means rejected, double red color means rework, or whatever way. There are different techniques organization will use for identifying the materials. They use the tags also, different colors of tags to identify the status of the materials. Then comes the final approval of the items. So far, the material is into the stores only. It has not reached their rack or final acceptance status. Again, that depends upon organization to organization. But general practice is once they are finally approved, finally accepted, then the records will be updated into their software, hardware, whatever way they are doing, and then it will go to a final accepted area in the stores where it will be ready to be issued to the user department, to maintenance department, or to the production. And this approval and store should be done in such a way so that the items can be retrieved easily. Now the production department is wanting a filter to be installed into a machine which is going on into assembly. So it requires to be brought into workshop in a few minutes or few seconds maybe. So if it is kept in a proper way by following the bin card system, by following a SAP or ERP system, whereby a click of the button item is located, yes, rack number 123, bin number 234, register number 535, and it is immediately issued to the production or machine maintenance department and they can use it perfectly. Once this is done, then what happens? Many times the inspection standard or requirements keep on changing. So we need to train our incoming inspection team effectively so that these revised standards are implemented into the inspection department almost immediately. Before the next lot comes, they should implement the new sample plan, new inspection plan, new tag method, new lock-in lock-out system, a new tagging system, new inspection method should be implemented immediately, and they should also be depending upon requirement displayed by way of checklist or work instruction. Many times we find into the organization when we are going for audits that inspection engineer is having one check sheet in his file, but inspection report is filled with the old performance, or the work instruction is still saying the old inspection plan. So the changing requirements are from their own experience also, the changes are coming from customer side also, the standards are also again being revised. There are no standards who remains like what they were 100 years back or 50 years back. Every standard is subject to change because the technology is changing, components are changing, the competence of personnel everywhere is changing. So the changes should be implemented into incoming inspection department almost immediately before the next lot is inspected, and the inspection should not be done against the old inspection or old sampling plan. So now the inspection is done. So how do we handle it? As I discussed earlier, they will go to different storage locations, different storage places, and if there are rejections and reworks, what will happen? How they will be handled, how disposal will be done, at which area they will be stored, what kind of label or tags or what kind of color will be put into these materials and components, so that there is no problems in our organization within the internal customer satisfaction, and also meet the requirement of external customer satisfaction. They also don't feel dissatisfied by our way of handling of the reworks, and same time the rejection. And also we need to define the authority for handling of rework and rejections. Who will be authorized to take a decision that yes, it is accepted, yes, it is going to a reverse situation, yes, it is now going to a situation where we cannot rework it. We have discussed with customer also, he also says no, with this dimension, with this property of tensile strength, or with this hardness, this cannot be accepted at all. So now either it will be disposed within the company, or depending upon if it is a customer supplied product, it will be returned to the customer, or if it is a vendor supplied item, we had a discussion with the vendor and he says, sir, I also don't need this material back, you can dispose it of yourself. So all these things needs to be defined into incoming inspection system and process, and accordingly the responsibility and authority needs to be defined. So this has been the implementation of our sample plan and inspection methods. Now let's go to the next chapter. Now we have done the incoming inspection. We have got the incoming inspection register filled. We have got the incoming inspection reports filled. They are kept into various racks. They are stored into various folders, various files into the computers, ERP SAP system. So what to do now? We see many organizations who are very good in uh, developing the system so far. Means they have created the records, they have all the records, but then these records needs to be analyzed, and action should be taken so that the further improvements are brought into our incoming inspection system, and ultimately the product and the management system improves. So records maintenance is very important. How to keep a record, where to keep a record, so that when needed we can trace it. Sometimes the customer complaint comes, so we need to trace back the record. When was the incoming inspection done? Who was the inspector who has done the initial inspection? Who was the quality control manager who had done the approval? So that we can discuss with them that this is the customer complaint in this particular filter, or this particular piston, or this particular machine. So, so that we can do analysis, and we can work out a plan so that we can see the trends. So this analysis of data and records is very important. There are various techniques to do this analysis. There are N charts, there are P charts, there are statistical tools are there, cause and effect diagram, uh, PDCA is another method to do it. So there are various techniques, and there are statistical techniques used to do the analysis of this data to see the trends, that in which direction we are going. This particular part is having a rejection of 1%, and it is increasing slowly. So the corrective action will be taken after doing the analysis. When we do the corrective actions, we do the root cause analysis, we find out where was the fault. It was the mistake of a vendor, it was the mistake into the customer supplied item, it was a mistake into the runtime or downtime, delivery was late, or the transporter had made a problem, because of transportation the material or the packaging got damaged. So we set up a corrective action system after doing the analysis of the data which we have generated after so many weeks and months of the effort of inspection team. Now what do we do? When we do corrective actions, we need to do monitoring. Monitoring can be done by the department teams, the inspection team themselves, or when we are talking of ISO 9000 system, we have a system of internal auditing where we can do the audits of system, where we can do the audits of product also if there is a problem coming because of the product quality, and we keep on monitoring so that these corrective actions are effectively implemented and we get the desired results of improvements, the value addition. Also, further monitoring is done by conduct of management review, where the management team will sit down for a couple of hours. They will have the team who will have all the data, all the analysis in their hands, in their files, in their laptops, in the presentations, and they can tell that yes, this is what we are deciding today, but we have to do monitoring. So the management review minutes of meeting are generated where responsibility, authority and targets are set, and we keep on tracking and monitoring that. Once all this happens, the improvement is the ultimate aim of the incoming inspection plan system, the team. So improvement naturally will come when we follow all the principles which we have discussed so far. And also the philosophy of ISO 9000 is also again based on PDCA, following the 7 management principle, so that again in the last clause of ISO we get the improvements, and improvements should be continual improvement, and by involvement of the entire team of inspection department we can definitely bring upon improvements in the quality of raw materials, components which are going for assembly, and for the final product quality to be improved upon by implementation of management system. So we have discussed the incoming inspection plan in details today. I hope this has been a useful discussion. You can contact me and my team further if you have doubts and you want to learn more. Thank you very much. Apurv, any questions if you have, or any team member, any questions right now we can discuss.
I would request the team members and the participants, if they have any questions from Vajpayee sir, they can please go on and ask their questions.
No question, sir.
Okay.
Any of the other participants has any questions?
I am moving the slides also so that if you look at it again, some question might come in your mind in the any of these points. So if no questions are there, then I thank you very much for this webinar. We'll continue this exercise. Thank you very much.
I hope that there are no questions from any of the participants. So we can now move towards the conclusion of this particular webinar. I thank Mr. Ajay Bajpayee for this wonderful webinar today. The knowledge on the topic which you have was very much evident in the way that you have explained every content during the course of this webinar. I cannot thank you enough for giving your valuable time and effort to be a wonderful speaker today and completing this webinar in the given time as well. I hope that all the participants has been benefited by the knowledge that you have shared. I hope to see you all again soon, and I wish you all the best of luck on behalf of TNV Academy for all your future endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.